welcome to As It Comes, life from a musician's point of view. I'm Davina, I'm a freelance cellist based in London, and spring is slowly emerging here in the UK, a lot slower than last year, when we were in the early days of the pandemic, and we thought, oh, this isn't so bad, when it was balmy and sunny. I don't know about you, but I'm still freezing. I want my vegetables to grow, but I'm scared that we're going to get killed by frost. Anyway, you're probably not here to listen to me talk about my gardening woes. Jumping right in today, my guest for this episode is Norwegian trumpet player Tine Thing Helseth. I loved chatting to Tina a few weeks ago. We had a very light-hearted and jovial conversation about what Tina's been up to during the pandemic, the struggle to keep motivated during this time, being a grown-up, and some interesting things about Norwegian music and the language that I didn't know about before. Here's my chat with Tina. Tina, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me.
So you're in Norway at the moment, is that right?
I am, yes.
Yeah. Whereabouts in Norway?
In Oslo, that's where I live and where I'm from. Yeah, so it's my hometown. Yeah.
Nice place to be. I have to say, I've been to many different places in Norway, but I haven't been to Oslo.
Well, where have you been?
This is going to sound quite random, but I've played in a string quartet on a cruise, and so I went to lots of different ports. So I've been to Stavanger, up to the Lofoten Islands.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
A few places up in Svalbard, even.
Yes, cool.
Some of the fjords, and ended up in Bergen, but we didn't go to Oslo, sadly.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's the west coast and up to the north, and then I mean all the way to Svalbard. That's incredible. So it's that's the kind of most scenic, touristy places, I guess. Even I feel like a tourist when I go there. Yeah. My husband is actually from Bergen, but Oslo is beautiful today. It's very sunny, starting to get a bit warmer, and it's a very small capital.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels kind of cozy somehow.
I think I know what you mean, because I'm from New Zealand, and so there's a similar sort of feeling of being part of a cosmopolitan city, but also it's not as sprawling as, say, London, where I am now, and there's that nice feeling.
It's very different from London.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You must feel very lucky to have been spending the last year in Oslo, your hometown, where you're from.
Absolutely.
I look on to New Zealand in envy over the last year, but I'm happy here, obviously. How have you been finding the past year? Obviously, it's been a year now. What's been the most challenging thing for you?
It's so strange that it's been a year. Yeah, now these things are normal, like you watch a movie, and if people are very close to each other and hugging, it's like, oh my God, they're too close. And I'm thinking, oh, well, it's actually, it's how we live now, it's with the distance and not meeting too many people. And it's been a very strange year, as it's been for all of us. So, of course, in the very beginning, everything was very uncertain. We didn't know what this was. I remember arriving from the States, from a tour, like a week before lockdown kind of started. So, and then of course everything got cancelled a month at a time, but like in 5 days everything was cancelled, like 4 months. Oh, that's how it felt in advance. And it was very hard in the beginning to find motivation, and I've spoken to a lot of my colleagues about this, and we all feel the same. Suddenly everything stopped, and then it's like, so the reason that I play it's because I like to play for people. Yeah. So if I'm suddenly not going to play somewhere and play something somewhere, then I find practicing, like motivation to practice, really hard. Because I'm not, I don't love practicing in the first place, but I do it because I love the result.
Yeah.
So then if I suddenly don't get the result, the carrot, then it's harder. So in the beginning it was quite hard. And my husband is also a musician. So basically we were just, he has a steady job here in Oslo, but still he didn't work either.
Yeah.
So we were just at home all the time. from June, I would say, here in Norway, I actually had a lot of concerts from June to December. Many concerts here in Norway. The summer was quite mild.
You mentioned that, you're finding it difficult to stay motivated to practice, which I think a lot of people can relate to. What was it like for you at the very beginning? Did you just sort of put the trumpet away, or did you manage to get it out sometimes? What did you do?
Well, of course, when this happened, it was like, okay, now we have to, so what are we going to do now? We were like doing kind of a schedule for a week, like, okay, we're going to go for a walk. I'm going to go to this grocery store to buy, something special that we wanted to cook. Yeah, we had all these goals. Of course, we were going to start exercising. There were so many things that we were going to start doing when this happened. Okay, now we have to do something. And he also plays the trumpet. So we're like, okay, we're going to practice together too, because that's more fun to do the basic stuff together. And then we're going to, of course, none of this happened, kind of, So we start, well, the first week we were kind of like, because also then, like a week into after it, I had this live stream concert on Facebook. So then I had to practice before that one. Yeah, but then I went many weeks without practicing.
I'm the same, actually. I mean, I feel like my husband is a musician as well. So I play cello and he plays double bass. And it's really hard to stay motivated unless you have something to work towards. I mean, the last time we played together before this pandemic was at our wedding when we swapped instruments. So, I mean, that's, I guess that wouldn't really work so much for you.
It's amazing. Yeah, though, that's that's not the same. We can swap instruments anytime.
Yeah. But it's nice, as you say, when you have a live stream or something coming up, and then it does make you realize why we do music, and it's to share with other people, isn't it?
Absolutely, and it's it's different from when you study. Of course, I still have the same goal of wanting to become better at what I do. Of course, it's not like we always want to evolve and all of that. But at the same time, when you study, you have a goal of kind of doing what I do now, kind of. So you're kind of working towards something, and then it's not necessarily towards the concerts all the time. It's just towards getting up to a place. And then when you get there, and of course, yes, you still want to evolve, but still then you're there. So now it's different. Some people still have the motivation to just like, ooh, now I'm going to learn this piece because I don't have time otherwise, or now I'm going to do all of these practice, exercises and, the technical things that we have to, well, first of all, keep in shape playing wise, and also, they find this fun. But since I don't, then of course motivation then I just want to do other things.
Yeah, but that's fair enough. I mean, as you mentioned, you get to this place and due to many, many years of hard work and practice, and maybe it's just time, you can just relax when given the opportunity.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm 33, soon 34, so it's like, apparently I'm grown up. I there are other things in life that means just as much or more. I like to call playing the music my job, but it's a part of my identity, of course, and who I am, and I would be very sad if I could never play again, of course. But at the same time, life is so much more than just the playing.
I think there's so much that we need to take from life outside of the practice room and, outside of playing, so that we have stories to tell in our music playing. I think that's something that we need to remember. We're the same age, by the way.
We are? Oh, that's nice. So apparently we're both grown up.
We are both grown ups. Yeah. Well, it's this funny, I don't know if you get this, but I get this sometimes when I go out to work, and you get some people who are like, oh, have you just left college? And then it's like, no, I left college like years ago now. And then I also get other people slightly older than me who say, oh, how many kids have you got? And I'm like, no, like I'm at this kind of weird limbo stage, I think.
It's true. We're in the middle of like the very much family state, like to have kids. Do you want kids? How is that going to work? I feel, well, to be honest, I actually like my age.
Yeah.
I liked turning 30. Of course, now 34 feels very much older than 33. I don't know why.
I think it's because we're coming up to that age where when you're filling out surveys and you'll be of the next demographic up
Is
very
that why?
soon.
Ah, okay.
Well, I think, you know how it's like, select your age range. It's like 18 to 26, 26 to 34-ish.
And then it's like, whoop.
35 to 50.
Then you move on. It's like, oh my God. Yeah. No, that might be it actually. That it's different. I mean, you spoke about having time to relax and to stop. I mean, I feel like a lot of my colleagues and close friends who are also traveling musicians, they got this identity crisis when this hit. I was, well, I don't know if I should call it lucky, but I already had that like 6 years ago when I met a kind of wall that I had to take time off for almost, at least half a year. And so I already had that kind of, why do I play? Do I want to do this? All these kind of things. What would I be without it? And what is important in my life? And so I think I was kind of lucky that I already had that, because then I could actually just relax.
Yeah, you can be at peace with it, and you've taken that time already just to assess mentally where you are, and is this what I want to be? Yeah,
so now I could more like actually just enjoy the time with my husband. And we have some of our very, very closest friends that were, of course, still, it's been a bit up and down if you can visit people or not, or it's all back and forth. Now it's actually really, really strict because the numbers are going up right now, but yeah, so I've just more like, I have my very closest little circle of people that I would rather just be with them,
They get you through.
Absolutely, and that's the most important thing in life, I think.
It's funny you say that, actually, how you're saying, oh, I'm not sure if I should say the word lucky, because I've come across this with the person who rehairs my bow guy. What do we call that?
I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like I should know.
Maybe a bow guy, I don't know. Yeah.
My bow guy. And I got my bow rehaired back in September, and I asked him, how's your year gone? And he felt so guilty. He was feeling really guilty that he had actually enjoyed it and had done quite well, And I feel like there is this feeling that people feel guilty if they say, oh, I've actually had a great pandemic, obviously because we're in this climate where people are dying and losing their livelihoods and everything. But then, if you're lucky enough to be in that position where you can just mentally take stock of who you are and
absolutely
enjoy the time that you're in, because the time before the pandemic was pretty hectic for a lot of us, I suppose.
Yeah, and then you kind of, you have to stop, and then you start enjoying it. But as you say, well, then I've been lucky, that it's been everything, everything from people around me have been, well, and financially and all of that, it's all fine. All of these, I've been fortunate to get work here in Norway, and a lot of work just coming up because everyone needs to use the local musicians now, like the local soloists and conductors, and luckily the Norwegian orchestras, when they work, they do that, so suddenly there are new things coming in weeks in advance. It's a very different life than years in advance, which is the normal thing. All in all, I haven't had any huge worries like that. Of course, in the beginning, and still, if I think about it a lot, then it's very uncertain this whole time. It's scary in that sense. What is this kind of? And of course, it's happened now, so it will probably happen again at some point during our lifetime. And then of course we're more prepared, and it might not be as severe, because that's what kind of is the strangest thing, is that it's the whole world.
Yes.
It's like everywhere. It's like everything just stopped. It's like for everyone. It's very bizarre.
Yeah, no matter what profession, where they were in the world. I mean, I remember this time last year, just being able to call my mum or my sister on the other side of the world in New Zealand, knowing that they'd be home. I mean, that never happened before. And
of course,
everyone having that in common. Very, very strange.
And someone also said that in 1 year now we've done the kind of leap in technical things for like 10 years. Like or something, in this that we're doing now on Zoom and businesses doing things.
And vaccines as well. The fact that they're even able to develop that within a year is just amazing.
It's crazy. Yeah. So I guess it's positive things as well in the middle of everything.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk to you about your album that's coming out, obviously, which is called Magical Memories.
Oh, yeah. We worked on that title to find something that was like capturing what it was. Yeah. Yeah.
I wondered if you could tell us a little bit about your musical journey and your musical upbringing, because I have a feeling that that's probably one of the influences for one of the reasons why you've described it as very personal.
I come from a very kind of musical family. We have a very strong wind and brass band tradition here in Norway. So my mom and dad played, I mean, they're not professional musicians, but it's their hobby. So basically I grew up going with them to rehearsals every Monday or whatever, sleeping in the stroller from when I was like 3 months old or something, it was part of me and part of everything that we did in life. I thought it was completely normal that everyone played an instrument as a hobby, this was of course, I mean, it's not a classical music home necessarily, just all genres basically. In the wind bands you kind of play everything, and my mom used to play also a lot in like other things, like in churches and stuff. So that's where the whole like memory of me being on the organ gallery kind of thing, drawing or something. This was before iPads, old compared to that. So I was just drawing or doing, whatever, being very close to the organ, feeling the kind of, it's very physical, this feeling to experience an organ close up. I mean, of course, it's a lot of sound, but the vibrations and also then with my mom playing, it's that whole, the memory of childhood. Basically, my memory of childhood is music in it all the time, basically. But I mean, in the best way. I would say in the best way, because they just played because they wanted to, not because they had to, It's the best thing.
That's amazing. So you weren't exposed to like the nerves and all like the uncertainty, well, not until now, the good reasons for music making.
Yeah, so like I think so. So it's a lot of those, and a lot of the tunes on the album is quite famous tunes here in Norway, some of them. And it's music well, basically the record label, they're amazing. I can just choose, what do you want to do? And then I chose what I wanted to do.
Oh, that's the dream, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, really the dream. I chose small pieces and melodies, tunes that I like, basically. And that I have memories connected to a lot of the tracks. And then also, I think some of the there are some wedding marches, both some Norwegian traditional ones, and then you have the trumpet tune and the trumpet voluntary and the Te Deum, the Eurovision theme. Yeah.
Is that really the Eurovision theme?
It is, yeah.
Oh, okay. One thing I noticed about the Te Deum by Charpentier, because I saw that you'd released that as a single, but did you know that tune is actually on the grade 2 syllabus for cello here in the UK?
I had no idea. But why not?
I mean, I have to say, the renditions that I've heard are very different from yours. I'll tell my students to listen to yours. It's like, this is what we're trying to sound like, even though we're playing cello. Try to sound like a trumpet.
But it says something about the tune, It's a nice tune. It's a catchy.
Yeah, it's the kind of tune. Well, now that I know it's the Eurovision theme, I didn't know that at all. I feel like maybe I should have. But I have noticed that with kids. You play them that piece. Okay, we're going to learn this new piece, play it through, and a lot of them will say, I think I've heard that before. And they won't know why. Maybe Eurovision.
But it's because it's the EBU fanfare kind of thing. So it's before the Vienna New Year's concert, but it's also before the Eurovision Song Contest. It's before, it's the beginning of all the, what do you call transmission? No,
broadcasting.
Broadcast
Yeah.
from EBU,
Okay.
the European Broadcast Union. So they might have heard it, a lot of places. It's very catchy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's been your favorite piece to record on that album?
Oh, that's a hard one, because there are a lot of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really did enjoy some of the more folk, Norwegian kind of folk tunes. Some of them that just Kåre, the organist, and me just kind of, there is a melody and then the arrangement happens on the spot. To improvise the arrangement that we did together. We just decided the keys basically, and then
just went from
then
there.
we went for it. Yeah, I like some of those traditional Norwegian ones that maybe probably a lot of people don't know. Some of the tunes that I like, that my hope is that also that people maybe with some of those tunes, some of those songs will kind of be a part of a situation that kind of creates memories, because a lot of the music either has been used or works well in like different special occasions in life, whether it's like funeral or wedding or whatever. It's like it has the whole emotional range.
Yeah, so you're sort of passing it on, aren't you? Because it's like your musical memories of sitting up in the organ loft, and then here you are performing with an organist, and then who knows, someone might listen to this album and it might be part of their childhood, and then who knows, in 34 years there'll be the sequel from someone else.
Yeah, who knows?
So how would you describe Norwegian folk music? I'm completely uninitiated.
Well, I think if you know the music by Edvard Grieg, basically he uses a lot of folk tunes or a lot of references, the way that he writes. So for us, it's very Norwegian. Like Grieg is, for some people, that's the music they use on TV if they're gonna show like fjords and mountains and whatever, then it's always Grieg in the background. I mean, not always, but it's used a lot, and it's used in the like commercial for the best chocolate in Norway,
Right.
The milk chocolate, and it's used in different TV shows, and it's a lot of Grieg going on.
So listen to lots of Grieg, get the idea.
Well, there are, I mean, there's element at least because he's used them, but I would say that the folk music is also very fiddle.
Yeah.
Like the Hardanger fiddle that has like more strings. It has like strings. So it has the normal. I think it has. Oh God, I should know this.
Wait. What? I'm going to Google it now. What's it called?
Hardanger fiddle. So it's like HARDHNGER. Hardanger
fiddle. Okay, let's have a look. Oh,
it's like it has like strings underneath as well. That
like
rings,
sympathetic strings, I imagine.
Yeah,
oh my
so
gosh,
it rings when
this
you
one's
play.
got 9 strings.
Yes, 9
and
strings.
Very ornately decorated. Lots
Absolutely.
of different materials. Wow, they're beautiful. Okay.
Yes, they are.
Really
so,
cool.
and that's very like. Then you can do like different improvisation. That's a huge traditional instrument. That's very, very Norwegian.
Sort of fiddle improvisation kind of thing.
Yeah,
I love that.
Kind of. I mean, something is a bit like, it's not Irish, but it's kind of in the same, if I would have to describe it. And some of it is it's a lot of melancholy. It's the kind of scales that they use.
I'm gonna investigate that further. I love that. But also because in Sweden they have, I think it's Sweden, they have the nyckelharpa as well.
Yes.
And that's like a really big kind of fiddle. It's got like an echoing chamber box, I think, as well.
So we use that here as well.
Oh, okay, yeah. And it seems like they've got millions of strings. I can't keep up.
Yeah, no, they have different string. Like I think since Norway was like under Denmark and Sweden and everything, we were got independent in 1905, kind of. So before that, well, in the old days, it was Norway and Iceland and everything around was like one big. Even though Iceland is far away, but it was the same language and stuff like that. But no, so we've been under Denmark and Sweden for so many years that some of the traditions are quite the same.
And even like the parts of the languages, I imagine, are quite similar too.
Yeah, we can talk. Well, we should be able to talk together in our language.
Really?
Yeah, I can talk to and understand. It depends, of course, how some of the words are very different, and the way, the pronunciations of people. Well, at least Swedish, no problem. There are so many Swedish people here in Norway. Danish is a bit of a different way. But at the same time, we should be able to understand each other, all of us, the 3 languages.
I have noticed this. When you get like a packet of something, I'm going to use the example of shampoo, and on the back, they have all the ingredients in all the different languages. And then they always just have Norwegian / Danish / Swedish, as if it's like one language, even though it's 3. So it's like you can read one and just understand it. That's so cool.
But there are some very different words. But I mean, in general, you should just be able to speak. I can speak Norwegian, but I mean, if I'm in Sweden and I teach, for instance, I will use some Swedish words.
So is it more different than, say, if an American came here to the UK and spoke American? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like a dialect. It's like you with New Zealand dialect. Yeah, so that's, of course, the Americans, they have some different words, of course, that they use, but at the same time, it's, it's kind of the same.
It's the same language.
So it's very different, but then it's not. I don't know if it's like, I have understood that some of the, like, Spanish can kind of understand Italian.
Yes. Portuguese people can understand Spanish, I think.
Yeah, okay.
But maybe not so much the other way around. Yeah, all the related romantic languages.
Yeah, but I think in Norway since our language is kind of like a mix, a little bit of the two, Danish and Swedish, and it's kind of in the middle, like the intonation-wise, like how we speak. So I think we understand Swedish and Danish better than the Danish understand Swedish and the other way around, I would imagine.
Yeah, they're on the extremes, and then you're kind of in the middle.
Yeah, the pronunciation, the way they talk is very different.
That's cool.
And then Finnish is a whole other ballgame. We understand nothing.
Yeah,
nothing. They've
got their own like linguistic branch.
Yeah, no, that's not for us. Yeah.
Don't try.
Yeah. Don't try it.
Nice. Thank you so much for your insights on your album, and also enlightening me about, first of all, Eurovision, and also just Norwegian folk tunes and folk music.
Yeah.
You may or may not know I have a segment in my podcast called the Wildcard Question Round.
Yeah.
And this is where you get the opportunity to choose what I ask you next based on 3 choices.
This is very interesting. I'm excited.
Good. I'm really glad that you're excited. It freaks some people out.
No, I love these things. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. Okay, so your first topic is hobbies.
Mm-hmm. Next
is travel memories. And the last one is alternate reality.
I feel like this is like, what is it called? Pointless. You know, that program, it's like choose. Have you seen Pointless?
No, I don't. I thought, no, but I just thought you were just saying to my face, I feel like this is pointless, this segment, which it largely
is. Have you
seen
the BBC show? We have it here. It's
okay, right.
Like, then you get to get 3 answers from one category. You get to choose categories. This is in the final, and then you have to like give an answer that no one else has answered before.
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, okay, I'll check that out. Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. No, this is not pointless.
No, it's fine. What I like to show in this segment is that musicians have lives outside of just music,
We do, absolutely.
As we mentioned
So
before.
was it hobbies, travel memories, or what was the last one?
Alternate reality.
Oh my god. I would have to go... Let's go with the last one.
Oh, okay.
Alternate reality.
Brilliant.
That sounded interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So... if you didn't play the trumpet, what would you play instead?
I would sing.
Ah, nice.
Well, I kind of sing as well, so maybe that's not a good answer. But yeah, well, then I would be... Then my dream, then, if I didn't play the trumpet, I would love to be a jazz singer.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I have that, I would love to be that,
Just so cool.
Yeah, so they're just like, relaxed, and no. Jazz singer. That would be something.
Nice, yeah. Who's your favorite jazz singer?
Oh, wow. Well, there are a lot of them. It depends a little bit like what type,
Yeah.
you know, like from when. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Nina Simone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I really love her very, distinct voice. It's different. And then, of course, you have the normal ones, like the Ella Fitzgerald. But then you have, like more. Yeah, no, it's a lot of them.
I love Ella Fitzgerald. She came on the radio recently, and I was driving at a time in the morning where I am not usually very awake.
Yeah.
She came on, and I just felt the corners of my mouth just turn up because I was like,
yeah,
oh, I love this kind of this voice. I love the sound.
Absolutely.
I love what you said earlier about how when you were growing up, like it was just normal. Everyone had an instrument.
Yeah.
Because I've definitely felt that, but in a slightly different way. When I was studying and I was hanging out with lots of musician friends, and we had this one friend that wasn't a musician at all. She was the flatmate of one of our musician friends. So she always came to all the musician parties and stuff. And then everyone would just ask her, what instrument do you play? And every single time she would come up with a new instrument that she would say.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So
like bassoon or like
they started off like that, like bassoon or like whatever. But then she started getting quite adventurous, and she'd say, I play the Offerclyde. But then people would start talking to her about like Symphony Fantastique and everything.
Yeah,
and then
of course.
she wouldn't know what to say.
Yeah, you have to be. It's a bit like coming to France or something, and like if they ask you something and you answer like with almost perfect, it sounds really like you know the language, and then they would just back to you, and it's like no.
Yeah, you must sound very convincing in French then.
Yeah, well, just like one sentence, and then it's all gone,
Well, in an alternate reality, I would love to hear you as a jazz singer. So thank you so much
I
for
would love that.
Your answer there. Tina, thank you so much for joining me today on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's been a lot of fun.
Sharing your stories about, your time during the pandemic, also the stories behind your album, and also enlightening us about Norway. So where can people find out more about you and your work?
I love Instagram.
Yeah.
So Instagram, and then it's basically just my name. So it's like, I love that. Sometimes I do it a lot. Depends, what mood I'm in. I love the Insta stories and stuff. And then, of course, I have a Facebook page and stuff like that. But no, Instagram is, and of course, a website and stuff. For concerts and all of that. But Instagram is actually something I really like. It's very instant.
Yeah. Oh, funny that. Yeah, I do like Instagram as well. Of the social media platforms, I prefer Instagram. I think just because it's a bit of fun as well. You can be quite spontaneous. And Facebook nowadays is just getting a bit like serious and a bit shouty. Everyone's just like shouting about the same things over and over.
I like the stories as well because it's just there and then it disappears. And
yeah, you don't have to feel too bad if it's something a bit silly.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I like that.
Yeah. Nice. Great. Well, we'll check you out on Instagram and keep everyone posted about your upcoming work. But thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun.
Hope you enjoyed my chat with Tina. I wanted to find out more about the Hardanger fiddle because the hasty Google search during the interview didn't suffice. The Hardanger fiddle is very closely related to the violin, but with a few marked differences. The number of strings is 8 or 9, depending on the instrument. You play 4 of them with a bow, as you would any stringed instrument, but the extra strings are underneath the fingerboard. You don't play these ones, but they ring in sympathy when you play the other strings, making a very resonant sound. The bridge is flatter than the curved one of the violin, and as a result means the strings are on more of an even plane, making it easier to play 2 or 3 strings at once. Because of this, you hear lots of double stops and drones in Norwegian folk music. Hardanger fiddles are beautifully and ornately decorated, often with the scroll carved to look like the head of a dragon, a lion, or a person staring at you while you play. You think about the violin family and the fingerboard is usually just plain ebony, but the fingerboard of the Hardanger fiddle, and often the tailpiece too, is decorated with plenty of mother-of-pearl inlays. They almost look like frets. After watching a few YouTube videos, it looks like the bow technique is much the same as Baroque bow technique, where you sort of have to pull the sound out of the string without using too much pressure. And I found out something fun. In the soundtrack to The Lord of the Rings, in The Two Towers and Return of the King, listen out for the theme for Rohan. If you're like me, you might have thought that theme sounds like a violin, but a bit different. It is the Hardanger fiddle, used in a non-traditional way, but still has a very distinctive sound. Anyway, I hope you found that interesting. I wonder if it'll be like that thing where you learn about something and then you see it everywhere. Like, you'll hear me talk about the Hardanger fiddle and then it'll pop up in your YouTube feed, or in a movie, or there'll be randomly one for sale in your Facebook marketplace. Unlikely. It's like when you buy a certain car and then you start seeing the same car everywhere. That's it for today. Special thanks to Rosnagi for my logo and Daniel Elms for my jingle. Huge thanks to Tina for being my guest in this episode, as well as Ruth and Emily at Rebecca Driver Media Relations for their assistance. And as always, thank you for listening. If you like what you hear, you can now support the podcast and buy me a coffee on my coffee page, link in the show notes. Get in touch at asitcomespodcast@gmail.com or on the website asitcomes.com, where you'll also find all previous episodes and transcripts of the podcast. You can also get in touch with me via Instagram and Facebook, where I highly recommend you give me a follow and a like at asitcomespod. Remember to rate, review and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you to those who've already done so, and thanks for continuing to spread the word. Chat to you soon and take good care. Bye!